We're this evening now here in Kolkata, and we are in a small little park with a fountain here changing colors. And actually I was kind of thinking of recording some other place, but see the red light there. So in this chapter with the idea of the water turning into blood. So I saw that and thought, oh, that's a great thing, like the water turning into blood, kind of, right? Water, but that's just light, you know, we understand it's just illusion. Like that's not really blood coming out there. It's just the light that is lit up and changing color, and so red and green and all those kinds of colors. But kind of for that reason. Now, yeah, on the side here you can't see it, but there's red lights that come from another building that reflects off the lake, and there you can see a lot as well red. Okay, right. So what is Exodus chapter 7 then? What is this chapter? What ultimately a conclusion to this chapter? Now the chapter is about. This is a conclusion to the chapter. So just a quick reminder of Moses being down in the dumps. Right, at the end of the previous chapter, it's like we went to Pharaoh in chapter 5. We told him, you know, we need to let us go for 3 days. If you don't, then our God's going to be angry. He might send war against us. He might send some pestilence against us. Kind of, you know, 3 days, that's not so bad, right? Let us just go. Pharaoh's reaction to that was, oh, you guys have way too much to do, so go back and force them to ultimately go and collect their own straw. So the people went back to Pharaoh and asked Pharaoh concerning, no, is this really what you said? Not. And Pharaoh said, yes, and you guys too lazy. So, and then Moses went back to the people. They heard this is what Pharaoh said, and Moses cried out to God at the end of chapter 6. Cried out to God, like, I mean, how can you do this to us? This is so. God, why did you do this? Why did you bring me back all the way? And God ultimately then in this chapter told Moses to go back to Pharaoh and to tell Pharaoh to let his people go. Now this time not for a little bit, let them go. Right, that is this. You let them go. And God as well informed Moses that Pharaoh's not going to listen to you. And so they went and told him, okay, so go, Aaron, take the staff, throw it down, and turn into a snake. Pharaoh, these magicians come, they did the same thing. Moses, Aaron's staff, ultimately snake, finished them all the other snakes, swallowed them whole. Right, but that didn't impress Pharaoh a lot. Then God again sent him, okay, you know, after that sign, just let them go to the desert to worship me. Not about let them go for good, just in the desert to worship me. And the sign you need to do is this time turning water into blood. Okay, now when that red comes again, so they had to go in the morning, meet up with Pharaoh, and then Aaron had to, and the water turns into blood, like red now over there. All the water in the whole land, like everywhere, all the water. And they did, and it changed into blood. The fish died, stank, like, no, this water does stink a little bit. And the magicians, and they came and they turned some water or something that was maybe vodka, you know, or something that's clear like water, and turned it into blood as well. Maybe they just added some chemical to it and it turned into, it's kind of pretty easy. I think it's in a sense maybe, well, actually I guess both is kind of easy to do by sleight of hand. And again, since I did it, Pharaoh's not going to listen. The people struggled a lot, and this Pharaoh could go back to his palace. He still had lots of other kinds of maybe juices that he had, which didn't turn into blood. Water turned into blood, and fruit and all the other kinds of stuff he could eat. He was fine, but the poor people had to go and dig around the Nile, find water. And that is basically how the chapter ended. So what are a few interesting things that stand out in this chapter? The first thing is this idea of Moses as a god, Aaron as a prophet, speaking to Pharaoh. Now, later on in the Old Testament, we're going to see that a lot. Right, Moses is going to be a prophet because God is going to speak to Moses, give him the commandments, and he's going to speak to the people. So in that sense, Moses is a prophet. He's going to say about there will be another prophet like me coming, which ultimately will fulfill the shadow or foreshadowing Christ, right? So the antitype of as a prophet, as a true prophet. But okay, but in this case, it is not God, Moses, and the people. But in this case, before that even happened, it was, and the naming of it, it was Moses, Aaron, and Pharaoh. So not the people the recipient of this message, but Pharaoh the recipient of this message. It's kind of interesting the fact that we're going to say again, yes, sure, that's not the first prophecy, because the first prophecy was given by God immediately to Adam and Eve there in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. Okay, that is clear as daylight. Would be the first one. But again, that is God directly speaking to them. Not so much God through someone speaking to Adam, but God directly speaking to them. So in that sense, then, it's not that normal system of prophetic voice coming to the people, because in general, in the Old Testament, then, from here on onwards, the idea is God, human intercessor, or one standing in between the prophet, speaking to the people. In this case, not the people, but Pharaoh. So again, it's an interesting thing that the first instance of this system being in place, the first instance of this system being in place is with Pharaoh, the recipient of the prophetic message, and not so much the Israelis. So yes, the idea is still the same, they need to. But the other thing as well that's interesting and coming to think of that is the fact that in general, when the prophet spoke to people, it's always said, but they're not going to listen to you, and the people would normally not listen to it. The reason why the prophet spoke was because the people they spoke to were sinful, and they had to be warned about their sin, and they didn't want to change. And exactly the same thing that happened here in this case. Pharaoh was spoken to, addressed by the prophet Aaron through the God, that is Moses, and he didn't want to listen to it. It's like, oh no, my magician can do it. Oh no. He didn't listen. So that system of how an Old Testament prophet would speak, God, human, to his audience, the audience not listening, is clearly shown here in this chapter for the first time.